Welcome to this video. This is it round 7? Yes, round 7 coverage of Tata Steel 2014. And this tournament continues to be a real celebration of fighting chess. They simply don't play any uneventful draws. It's fighting chess on all boards. But at least in terms of those endless games like the 130 move game from yesterday, we didn't have any of those today, but still lots of interesting content. Alright, let's start with the first game. I'm starting with Report against Krishna, and again the creative Hungarian early on comes up with a rare move. We have a Karjakin classical with bishop f5. This is the classical variation, and now Report comes up with a funny move, queen f3. I have absolutely never seen this move before, and I did a video series for ICC in German language, doing a black repertoire, and I did the Karjakin and also the classical, and I never ever looked at this move. Yeah, it's not so bad. It's attacking the bishop. Black retreated it. Yeah, note that. Okay, the clock times are a bit wacky, I think. I don't think Krishna had spent like 10 minutes or 9 minutes up to bishop f5. Yeah, well, it's a big surprise, certainly. Well, probably Krishna is not surprised that Report is coming up with some sideline. He's doing that all along in this tournament. But of course, it's hard to guess what kind of sideline there is coming. Okay. Yeah, this all looks very logical. Well, queen d5 is not a move that is strictly necessary, but it has some points. I think what Black didn't want to do is to go for something like this. Let's say knight d7, bishop f4, knight f6, and knight d6. Check. I think this is one thing that Black probably wanted to avoid. However, if I'm just looking at it, well, this is not necessarily bad. Bishop a3. Yeah, there is this great move. Well, that's a funny line.
Checkmate.
Oops. And if the queen moves, we've got this check coming up. A very funny line. Okay, well, just one brief idea. After bishop f4 is also this one. Yeah, well, queen f3 is certainly not refuting the classical Karjakin. But what I'm trying to say is that this move was not strictly necessary. It's not bad though. We see that. Oh, this is very logical. And now knight f6. Yeah, this now leads to some trades. White Check. Takes and black takes with the pawn. This is probably necessary. Well, not strictly necessary, but after this move, bishop g6, fg6, this looks really ugly. And I'm not sure that black should go for that, especially considering that there is this type of move. You can take on g2 and allow queen g6, but it's not nice. It's no problem to capture with this pawn. This looks a bit like the Bronstein-Larsen variation now, with the doubled f-pawn. Takes. Yeah, white didn't really have a big alternative to that. And now he played bishop e2. Yeah, at first sight, this looks totally harmless. I mean, I probably, if I would have this in the blitz game as black, I would probably be very relaxed and say, okay, well, not much is going on. But well, this cannot really be so great for white. Yeah, probably it is not so great for white, but it has some interesting points that are quite remarkable, and we see that rather quickly there are some ideas appearing for white. Bishop d6, certainly normal move. h5, bishop move to c2. Yeah, this is the first slight sign that there are some things happening. Well, bishop h7, no, there's just this pawn hanging. And this is one problem of black's position. This pawn is really a weakness, and at the moment the rook is tied to it. You, theoretically speaking, black could have played h5, but this always needs protection as well. Oh, this is not bad, but it's interesting that h6 is a real weakness. Bishop c2, and now white played knight f1. This kind of retreating moves are often hard to miss, or are easily dismissed if you face them. But this has an interesting idea. He wants to play knight e3 and then c4, opening up the position. And yeah, we already saw that h6 is a weakness. Even this type of maneuver can be an idea, intensifying the pressure on this pawn. Black must be cautious here. Yeah, here he also could have played the move f5. This would have been interesting, but this is not so easy at all to play. If white plays b3, for example, he's threatening knight e3 and trapping this bishop. So f4, but then rook h4. This pawn is hard to protect on f4. So we see that there are some interesting points. So black must be cautious. He played a6, which is probably just for control of the b5 square. This is a bit of a slow move. Maybe this is already not so accurate, but he's committing a mistake somewhat later. So this is not a decisive error or anything like that. b3, a dual purpose move. He wants to block this diagonal, so robbing this bishop of some squares, and also he wants to prepare c4. Yeah, and now black played rook c8. Yeah, attacking c3, bishop d2, covering it, and rook to g8. And I think really that rook g8 is questionable. It looks very normal going to on this half-open file and being active, but I think after that black has some trouble. My suggestion actually is to retreat it all the way to h7. One idea, and this is a bit of a wacky idea, but it is an idea, to answer knight e3 with f5, and then maybe f4 with the tempo. Something like this should be okay for black. But it's a complicated and really a fighting position that probably would have led to very interesting play. He played rook g8, and this looks like a very normal move, but I think it lands black in some trouble. Knight e3, and now here's the second move that is probably not 100% precise. I think bishop e4 now was maybe a bit trickier. The idea being, if white kicks the bishop, that this b6 bishop has an additional square on g3 that it can enter with the check, with the tempo. Well, f3 is probably not the best move, but maybe knight e4 was, as mentioned, at least a bit trickier. After this, white goes c4, and this immediately leads to big trouble for him. This is just hanging. You cannot protect the pawn like this. It's just losing a piece. And yeah, this means you basically need to take it. And after the capture, knight takes. It's a tempo on the bishop. Note that This check would have been possible if f3 had been provoked before. Yeah, knight c4. And retreated all the way to f8. Black also could have checked bishop to c7, but after a move like rook c1, it's a big threat here. King e7, it does not help. There is bishop b4 check, or bishop f3, and this really shows Black's problem, the b7 pawn. It's just very weak, and something
Check.
like this is looks like right out of a horror movie for Black. Terrible, terrible. Knight checks and so on. Bishop b7 coming, and it's just really bad. Well, he went to f8 with the bishop. Rook c1, again threatening. It's remarkable how quickly now Black's position goes downhill. I think it's almost beyond any salvation. It's just an excellent game for White. Bishop f3, and you cannot save it. You absolutely cannot save it. If Black plays b5, for example, this knight a5, and various problems, rook c6, a6, bishop b7 to a6. Yeah, and this is just an excellent square for White. And Black's counterplay is basically non-existent. He has no active play himself. Yeah, this basically means this is gone. And he played knight b8, which does not look brilliant, but it attacks d4. This is the idea. And now Report plays the strongest move, plays knight a5. This is better than taking on b7. After this, rook d4. White is also better, but knight a5 is even more powerful, as here the knight is a real attacking piece. And we see after bishop a3, rook c7, rook c8 was also good. Knight d7. That right here, White had a very strong move. He played knight a5. Yeah, but he had a very strong alternative, and this is bishop to c6. It seems that this move would have won straight away. It creates this very, very annoying pin, and it's really difficult to suggest a move for Black. In fact, this has some amazing point, and if Black now plays the natural move king e7, which is for sure the first move you think of to yeah, maybe move the rook here and get out of this pin. I know this is also a pin, but here maybe you can move the rook at least. Here White has a very, very strong move, and if you want to treat this as a puzzle trying to find White's very strong move, then I wish you luck. It's not easy. And you can pause the video. I'll be silent for a couple of seconds so that you can pause it. Alright, the strong move that White has is the amazing rook h4. Yeah, this is just a hammer blow. If Black now takes it, it's a forced mate. Rook d7 check. King e8. Rook c7 check. All forced. King f8.
Check.
Check. King g7. Rook g7. Rook c8 check. King e7.
Checkmate.
And rook e8 mate. This is just a great mate. Look at the pieces. They all work together. And the king is checkmated. Very nice. And in fact, after bishop c6, king e7, rook h4, if Black does not take it, what move is he supposed to play? The rook is attacked, and it's also necessary to cover d7. So he has no move. If he moves, I don't know, like something like that here. There's this one. And yeah, it has no square. It's just completely lost. The comp is on plus 11, just to show how hopeless this is. Yeah, bishop c6 was very strong. He played knight a5, however. And yeah, it's a shame the clock times are so inaccurate. Probably he was a bit down on time. Knight e5 and knight c6. All this still keeps a decisive advantage. Bishop c6 only was
check,
a bit more forceful, but this is also just excellent for white. If you look at the position, there are many things in white's favor. This is an offside bishop. The pawn is hanging. There's potential 2 against 1 with a passer to be expected later. And the main issue, those 2 pieces completely, oops, I didn't want to do that. What's this? Those 2 pieces just hamper the king, and it cannot move. And it's very close always to a mating attack. If one more piece joins the attack, it probably will be a mate. So this is still a lost position. Krishna goes for the best defense, really. The comp gives this as the by far toughest defense. Rook g to g5, blocking the diagonal, and therefore avoiding the immediate capture on h6. Of course, it's an exchange, and white takes it. And now castle. This is funny. Castles on move 31. Don't see that too often, but it's just strong. You need to get the rook involved. And in order to not make the video super long, I'm going to show the rest here relatively quickly. Report does a decent job technical wise. He's not allowing anything special, and always keeps his advantage. Here he however could have won much quicker with the help of b5. Quite surprising that he didn't do that, because after a b5 white has got the typical move a5. You're not recapturing and giving up a pawn, but use the a-pawn. And supported by the knight and the rook, the a-pawn is very close to promoting. It's not clear how black should stop it. This is the easiest and quickest win. He played knight e5, however, attacking here and attacking on f7. And this still wins. It's an exchange for no compensation. Can go through the rest
check,
rather quickly. Yeah, it's the a-pawn at the end is decisive, and the rooks are simply more mobile than the bishop. The h6 pawn also will be a weakness in the long run.
Check.
This still goes on for a while, and white, of course, needs to be precise, but he manages. Yeah, as I mentioned, this is a weakness.
Check.
Yeah, we are down to a rather basic endgame now, and here black resigned. The a-pawn will just promote. There's no counterplay whatsoever. So Krishna resigned. I was very surprised how quickly out of this very harmless looking position black got into huge trouble, and this shows that a very normal looking move like rook g8 can be a big mistake. It really seems that black after that is in really substantial trouble. He could have, with bishop e4, he could have put up some tougher resistance, but white will be better after c4. There's no question about it. Yeah, so a good win for Report. Finally, he's scoring a good win again. He had beaten Gelfand early on with the Budapest, and now his I think it's second win. He's having a hard time in this tournament. It's the first tournament that he's playing with such strong opposition, and opposition in every round. I mean, he has played many. Is quite a number of 2,700 players before, but in this tournament he's getting those players every time, every round, and this is really tough. So he's scored a good win and is closer again to the 50% mark. All right, let's go to the next game, and this will be Caruana against Giri. And to be honest, I'm not entirely satisfied with what I analyzed for this game, because I cannot answer a very obvious question. Well, we'll see. Okay, e5, and this quite often means that Giri is going to play the Petrov. He's playing the Petrov quite often. And we see that Caruana is not interested. Knight f6, and here he goes for the remarkable knight c3, and this is remarkable really on the professional level, as this line is simply not giving white anything. But nowadays, especially since Magnus Carlsen has perfected this approach, the ambition in the opening really has been the focus has shifted from trying to win quickly with prepared novelties to just get a playable position and try to outplay the opponent in a middle game, in the end game, whatever, just play a game. This really has become more popular, this approach, as opposed to a very theoretical approach, trying to win games quickly with computer preparation. So those kind of sidelines get more popular. The real issue of this line is knight takes e4, and this is what Giri is playing. To be honest, I usually don't play this move. I play knight c6 here, getting a bit more complicated play, but knight e4 is certainly a good move. The main point is that knight e4, d5 is instantly good for black, and you get the piece back with good play. Something like that, for example, is very convenient for black. f5 is not strictly necessary. You can also play bishop d6 or knight c6, and this is directly bad after d5. This gives black excellent play with two bishops and the center. Okay, well, this is very well known, and this
incoming challenge.
What the heck? Nope, no challenge. Why is this happening? Okay, I only suppressed chat, but not challenges. All right, queen h5. This is the real point of the opening. Attacking f7, threatening mate, and attacking e5. Yeah, black is going knight d6, covering this, and attacking c4. This is the main line. And now bishop to b3. Yeah, here black has a choice. He can play knight c6. This is the really sharp line, or bishop to e7, and this is the solid one. Giri goes for bishop e7, decent choice. Knight c6, in fact, can be answered by knight b5, and this is known as the, I don't know why it is called like that, the Frankenstein Dracula variation, right out of a horror movie. I really don't know why. You can maybe look it up on the internet why this is called Frankenstein Dracula. Well, no black player is going for that in a normal tournament game, because you never have it prepared and you cannot remember all the stuff. So bishop e7 is a very sensible choice. Queen e5 and castled. So this is just very solid. Okay, d4, knight c6. Well, this whole approach cannot be brilliant for white. I mean, queen h5, e5, moving the queen twice. It shouldn't really lead to an edge. But in the meantime, black has played a knight to d6, which is not brilliant as well. Yeah, knight a5, an interesting move, trying to get the bishop. But Caruana wants to keep this piece, and he plays bishop to d5. And Giri corrects the knight position, going back to e8. Bishop f3, and knight c6 back. He just wants to complete his development. Yeah, somewhere around here, I think Giri chooses some inferior setup, because white in some moves really gets a nice position. We see that knight e2, knight f6, and knight e3, rook e8, and castles. Maybe here is the point where black needs to improve. I think that knight e4 here was an interesting choice. He should try to harass white's queen, because white's setup at the moment is not really harmonious. The queen on d2 and the knights on the e5. This is not good at the moment. It has some potential to really be a good setup, but at the moment it's not well coordinated. Maybe this was the way to go. He played bishop f8. Yeah, I understand it. I mean, this was a bit of in the way, the bishop. But look, c4, g6. Again, knight e4 was interesting. b3. Yeah, let's just put those moves on the board. And now white has an excellent control over d5. He's got a good center, and the pieces are suddenly nicely placed. White is certainly better here. It's not a very it's not an advantage that should lead to a dramatic quick attack or mate or whatever, but white has excellent advantage in the center, and he keeps this advantage for a very long time. Knight d5. Yeah, this is very
Check.
logical.
Check.
And here knight d5. Black needs to retreat to d8. I mean, white had some alternatives before. This is clear. Very often, it's a good idea to not exchange so much. He exchanged all the rooks. Maybe it was an idea to keep them on, but I don't really know. I think white still has a big edge, but the thing is, it's not so easy to give a direct recommendation to white. I think what he should do, and he plays some very standard moves, these kind of moves. Yeah, and now Giri takes on d5. He cannot stand the sight of this knight any longer, and gives up the bishop pair. This really looks like a great position, but the thing is, what I'm not able to do, and what I was basically referring to at the start of the video, or at the start of the game analysis, I couldn't really find a super convincing way for white forward. I mean, this looks so fantastic. Two bishops, the center, and this passive bishop, that white really, yeah, I mean, white is close to having an almost winning edge, but how do you actually get ahead here? It's not so easy. What in general I think maybe Caruana should have done, but it's not very convincing, I know, is maybe to play it a bit slower, like a3, b4, bishop c3, and so on, just try to gain more space and try to improve a bit more. He played h5, perfectly logical move. Knight e7. No? Okay, want to keep the bishop. This is why it retreats. And now knight f5. And black has this idea: knight to bishop to f6. activated. So white plays d5. It's still a great position. Queen f8. Maybe around here there's ways to improve. It's just a fantastic position. I had a look at it with the computer, and it doesn't give a winning continuation. It gives white a steady big edge, but no direct win. You cannot just I don't know, attack on the king side and mate him also. I'm not sure. Played bishop g4 and queen h6. Queen e1 and knight g7, and black somehow consolidates a bit. Now he's attacking h5, so white felt inclined to take it. And here black has some defensive resources. Knight e8 and bishop f6 is the main one, and here we go. Yeah, black has activated and will post the bishop actively on the long diagonal. I think maybe this h4, h5 was mistimed. Around here we see that Giri has improved his position. He's got some active play on the long diagonal, and after this a3 was necessary. This was hanging. a5 also very logical. Yeah, bishop b7 attacking the knight. The bishop b2 was played. Yeah, this move here is why is this not playable? Maybe something like this, attacking the knight. Yeah, this looks a bit risky if you look at this. Maybe here. Oh, this looks very risky. Yeah, and it's not necessary at all. Black played bishop b2, and in fact here a draw was agreed. The problem is that white will move the bishop, let's say here, and after something like queen c3, it's almost unavoidable to trade. And with this pawn being attacked, something like b5 is just completely equal. Position is just too closed. So Caruana certainly had a big advantage, but I couldn't really find something concrete forward. Probably he should have advanced his pawns a bit in a bit slower fashion to not allow this immediate regrouping. But it's tough. Not easy at all. Okay, let's go to the next game, Gelfand Aronian. So we have Gelfand with the bad tournament, Aronian with an outstanding performance. He's on more than 3000 rating performance. So let's see what happens. Aronian playing black. Yeah, the Rogozin. This is a line that Aronian has played regularly in the last couple of years. It's been it was more regular, guessed in his opening repertoire like 2-3 years ago, and we didn't see that too often in the recent tournaments. But here he's going back to this idea. Bishop g5. Yeah, white has the main choice between exchanging and playing this bishop or play this bishop immediately. One difference is after this bishop move, the immediate bishop move, is that black can play d takes c4, leading to the so-called Vienna variation after e4. And now the overwhelming main move for black is c5. Recently there also have been many games with h6, interesting alternative, but c5 is the main move, leading to very sharp play after e5 or bishop takes c4. However, Aronian plays b5, and this is a real surprise, as this move has a very dodgy reputation. Normally it continues a4, this is what Gelfand played, And as b5 is hanging, black usually goes for c6. And this is a transposition now to a sideline of the Botvinnik semi-Slav, where black has chosen a very questionable setup. It starts with e5, h6, ef, oops, not rook f8, rook g8, and now I think h4. It's a very long and sharp line that I personally don't know too well, but it's good for white, believe me. This is also why Aronian didn't go for that. He had some idea in mind. After a4, he played the real funky move c5. Now attacking on d4. So it's c5 after all, but a4 and b5 is inserted. Yeah, well, what should white do? He took on b5. Not much else. Takes on d4. Took on f6. And took on d4. Yeah, we already see that white is going to win a pawn. c4 is pretty much impossible to keep for black. And what is black's compensation? Yeah, he's got, let's put this on the board, knight d7, queen c4 and bishop c5. This is quite forced. He's got the two bishops. This is nice. And with the two bishops comes strong play or some play on the dark squares, as he's got the dark squared bishop and this is missing in white's camp, so the dark squares are somewhat weakened. However, is it enough compensation? To be honest, I doubt it. I'm really surprised that Aronian went for this line, because it seems that white is better, to be honest. Let's put some more moves on the board. This is fairly logical. Queen goes away from the c-file and bishop b6. This introduces this idea, amongst others. I think right here Gelfand could have improved. I think he should try to keep more pieces on the board. Maybe a move like rook d1 was in order. The idea being to maybe continue with knight a4. What he did is he played the instant knight a4, and this after knight c5 seems to be okay for black. The point is that e4 is hanging, and there's not much else beside what Gelfand is playing.
Check.
He took on d8, takes, and now he takes on c5. He could have taken on b6, but after ab, e4 is attacked twice, and you cannot really save it. Besides, this is not a really valid extra pawn or extra pawn. Well, he took on c5, and now here I think that black probably has enough compensation. He's got direct play against e4, and well, the bishop now is really a strong piece. He attacked it and protected on the fourth rank, but black now has pretty easy play. He can
check.
Just centralize pieces and be okay. The two bishops are strong. Yeah, Gelfand really tries to do something, and we see that a couple of moves later. Here, he's going for an interesting exchange sack. He could have also just moved the rook, yeah, but well, without any big progress being available. He took on a7. This is interesting, giving up the exchange, and he's got the two pawns in compensation. And well, then the rook is a bit offside. I think this is just enough for the exchange. And note that the clock times are probably completely bogus. I'm pretty sure that Gelfand didn't play so quickly. Maybe Aronian did. He sometimes does that, playing really quickly. Gelfand basically never does that. Okay, well, he's got 2 pawns as mentioned, and this is probably enough compensation, but it's not more than that. Black gets his rook back into play. And, yeah, there's not much going on. The thing is that this here is very solid for white, and black cannot really he cannot ignore the b pawn basically. This always ties a rook to some passive play, and therefore here the game was drawn. Yeah, a bit of a strange opening choice from Aronian, a bit risky it seems, but rather quickly he didn't have any problems. Maybe knight a4 really was a bit too early. A move like rook d1 here looks more testing. So slightly dodgy game by Aronian, I think, but he managed to draw it. Okay, so next game, Wesley So against Karjakin. We have a Queen's Indian. Not a big surprise. Karjakin is playing this opening for ages.
Check.
Basically since he's playing chess, I believe. Yeah, this is one of the main lines. And this position can also easily arise from the Catalan opening. Yeah, a4. This is an interesting plan for white. What white is trying to do is to make some sense out of this d2 bishop. This d2 bishop has been tricked. Yeah, the bishop has been tricked to d2 with this check on b4 right here. And usually this piece is better on b2. I think I already explained that in a recent video, that this check is a good tool for black to misplace this piece here on d2. Yeah, so what white is trying to do with a4 is to make some sense out of this and advance with a4, a5, which wouldn't be possible without the bishop. Okay, h6. So black is basically saying, okay, I can play some strengthening moves. You don't really have a threat. Knight a3. Yeah, I guess after a5 there is no real threat. Black can play any move basically against that, or any program move, queen c8, rook e8, something like that. Yeah, he first played knight a3 and now c5. Black is going for an opening of the center. Queen b2 and b4. Interesting. Trying to open up the queen side. Yeah, he took on c4 and took on b4. This is a simple solution to this position. Black also had other options, but let's get ahead. This is an interesting way to play. He allowed knight d6, which at first looks very nice for white, but black has some idea with this. He's giving up the dark squares, especially d6, for increased control over the light squares. He's got very good light square control, and we see after a5 and bishop e4 that there are the first concrete threats now. Took and rook c2. This initiates a very interesting sequence. Queen b5. Got a trade. And now after e3, this was hanging the pawn. Black plays rook c8, and this is a very interesting decision because it involves a sacrifice. After knight e1, attacking the rook. Yeah, okay, theoretically speaking, you don't need to sacrifice now. You could also just retreat the rook. But Karjakin's idea with rook c8 was different. He took on g2. This is very interesting. After knight c2, he just recaptured here and entered this position, being a whole exchange down. But he's got some compensation, of course. He's got the second rank. f2 is a target. And of course knight e4 is eyeing exactly this target with a tempo. This bishop is attacked. Yeah, white needs to move it. And now a very interesting decision. Black could have taken on f2. And this is probably the move that almost all amateur players would play in this position. Well, besides the fact that they probably wouldn't willingly sack the exchange. But this is so obvious that you take it with check that almost all players would go for that. But Karjakin has looked into this position much deeper. He played b5, and this is a strong move. The idea is that d7 is the worst piece. If you look at this before b5, this knight is not going anywhere. It can go to f6, but you don't want to allow this silly bishop to trade himself against the knight. Well, why is it a silly bishop? Yeah, because it does not attack anything. It's just moving in thin air at the moment. It's not a very aggressive piece. And b5 is introducing this idea. He wants to activate his worst piece, and this is working very nicely in the game. Rook f1, well, covering f2. You cannot let it hang all the time. Knight b6. Yeah. White tries to exchange. Black declines that. And with king g1, white is trying to still play for a win. He could have played rook c1 to draw and go for perpetual. But he wants to fight. King g1. And now knight d5. Winning a tempo. Bishop moves. And knight c3. Yeah, and black has very active knights here. Those two pieces are just a real annoyance. Black also has the idea to use the b-pawn. Note that the knight on d5 is covering the b4 square, so that he really is supporting the pawn. And the knight on c3, of course, is covering the all-important promotion square. So the pawn is dangerous. And the two knights are simply very strong. White has a hard time to ever expel those pieces. He cannot play e4, this is controlled. If he plays f3, there's e3 hanging. So let's say something like that. Not too great. Yeah, this position is not easy at all for white to play because of black's activity. I don't think black is better. I don't want to convey this this impression, but black has some substantial compensation. Played rook a7 and now h5, gaining some space. This is a potential idea, and we see that after rook b7 he's playing g5. If black manages to play g4, then it will be very, very difficult for white to ever get rid of the knights, as the light squares are totally blockaded. He decided to take drastic measures here. Quite surprising, I think, the next move. He played g4. And the idea is after the capture to play bishop to d6. And now this bishop can help with securing the king. It's really a surprising decision, but probably playable. We see that in the game, black obtains very strong posts for his knights, but it's also becoming apparent rather quickly that black is not able to strengthen his position anymore. After knight c3 and this capture, here he took the chance to just liquidate into a drawn ending. And here we had 4 against 4 on one wing. I didn't really check, but I don't think they did they play it on for much longer? No, now here it was drawn. Yeah, simply no way forward for both sides. An interesting exchange sack by Karjakin. If white had chances to refute it, it must have been rather early, I think. Early in the sequence, I mean. Around here, after black got here, I think he has really enough compensation for the exchange. The computer does not really approve this or agree with this judgment that this is maybe enough compensation. It always gives white more than 1 pawn advantage, but I don't see it. I don't see how to make much progress here. White probably could have played better and set more problems, but it's not easy at all to play this position. Okay, let's go to the next game. Naiditsch against Dominguez. Or Dominguez. Yeah, Naiditsch is currently at the bottom of the standings, having a real bad tournament. And well, sometimes the mindset of a player can be read with the first couple of moves. And here we go. Naiditsch is going for the London system. A notoriously boring opening. But well, this is an opening that really says, okay, this tournament is not going too well. Let's just play a simple kind of position, not going for any big sharp tactics right out of the opening. And this is quite remarkable for Naiditsch, because he's a really sharp player and a fighter. So he probably is really not too thrilled with his performance so far. Yeah, Dominguez is playing one of the good setups against the London. In fact, this is one setup that I had recommended in a small video series that I did, I don't know, about 1.5 years ago for my channel, where I demonstrated some good ways to fight the London system. And this is one of the systems that black can play. It's a very flexible setup with a double fianchetto. Both bishops have nice positions, and black now, according to circumstances, can consider to play e5 or c5, or sometimes b5 after some preparation. It's very flexible, and white does not really have a very obvious active play here. This bishop, for example, is biting on this pawn. I don't want to focus too much on the opening even. Just advance a couple of moves. The play mostly evolves around the queen side. Yeah, this is a funny move. Knight b6, leading to this change of structure. Around here, white looks quite okay. I mean, he should not be in any trouble, but somewhat later we see that around here that black attacking the rook provokes white's response b3, and after this transposition here, or this exchange is the correct word, we have come to a position where black has got the a pawn as a pass pawn, and white's compensation lies in this slightly weak pawn on d6 and the passive bishop here. Well, white's bishop is attacking this pawn. I think white really should be okay here. He shouldn't be in trouble, but this is quite typical for a game where one player is really in bad shape in a tournament. You tend to drift into trouble. even out of positions where you don't really expect to have big trouble. I think black is easier to play because black just pushes the a-pawn if he's got the chance, and white needs to generate some play against that. If we continue a couple of moves, yeah, try to put more pressure on the pawn. Yeah, this looks like a nice tactic, but it does not lead to much. Yeah, rook b7. This, in fact, is a real mistake. The problem is that after the simple move d5, cutting this, white, yeah, probably must trade. And now the a-pawn is really dangerous. We see that it's coming up quickly. a3 and a2. And yeah, white needs to play the somewhat passive looking move rook a1, and rather quickly now black is making progress. Yeah, and here with this threat coming up, we see that white needs to right here, yeah, now black goes for the bishop c3 move. White has this funny tactic, rook takes a2, because of black's weak king.
Check.
Yeah, this is
checkmate.
Checkmate to avoid. Therefore, black needs to take with the queen, and now queen takes c3. So we have come to a position where black is up in exchange, but white has a quite strong bishop on e5, and he's got some ideas for counterplay. Is this position a win for black? Maybe. I'm not 100% sure, maybe like 80 to 90% that black should win, but it's not so easy. We see that after a couple of moves, I can here, that it's not so easy to see how black should continue here. I think right here he's maybe not playing the best one, but all this is not so easy to analyze, especially considering if you have limited time, and this is a position type where the computer just plainly sucks, to put it very clearly, because the computer does not understand fortresses, and white can sometimes set up a fortress. However, what I do believe is that black should try rook a1 here with the idea knight a6 to f1. And this, I think, is very difficult to defend. One important point is that queen f6 here after takes, and now probably bishop takes is the toughest one, that this is probably losing. At first I thought this might be drawable, but I don't think it is. Black can go all the way to f5 and get to a Zugzwang. I will put it on the board just to show the general idea. Yeah, white of course cannot do much. He needs to prevent king e4. So we get to this position, and here I had some initial problems to see how black should continue, but he has a good continuation, and this is much more apparent for the human than for the computer, surprisingly. Rook a7 is the key move. The problem being that after something like that, you need to lose a tempo somehow. How do you do that? Maybe like that. Wait, I did this wrong, really. Of course, here I need to do this. This is the position that that black must go for. This is the Zugzwang. The bishop has no square to go to without leaving this pawn unprotected, so white must play a king move, and this is exactly the point where you can advance with your king. If white plays f3, he exposes the second rank, and if he does not, then black will enter here. And this is in fact a win. This is just one method that I wanted to show how to make progress in this position. In the game, Dominguez played queen f5, and I'm not sure that this is winning. I mean, it's
Check.
Still, of course, better for black, but is it a win?
Check.
Hard to say.
Check.
We gave a couple of
Check.
checks, and then moved the rook that was under attack. Yeah, queen f3, and yeah,
Check.
here he decided to trade, and yeah, I'm absolutely unsure, but I think white should draw, to be honest. In the game, let's look at this f6. Okay, cannot take. Cheapo. Bishop b6, and white is trying to exchange pawns.
Check.
Yeah, this is very logical, all of that, but the problem is after
Check.
this, here black is a whole exchange up, but I still think it's a dead draw. If you feed this to the computer, it gives black a completely winning edge, like plus 2 point something, but if you then analyze for a while, you recognize that this is just bogus, because it cannot make any progress in the game. We see that black, after some shuffling, played g4.
Check.
And even played h3 check, and there is no progress to be made. White just moves this bishop eternally and draws. The computer is still on plus 2 something. I mean, Houdini on a good quad core, and if you give it to Stockfish, which is of course somewhat weaker, it is on -4, which is completely ridiculous. In fact, in the game, after a couple of more moves, here they agreed to a draw. It's just a draw, and the computer is helpless because it does not recognize that it is an exchange. That's all great, but you don't make any progress. Simply, it's nice but not winning. Okay, so just one game left, and I'm already above the 1 hour mark. I really thought this wouldn't be so long, but I really cannot make a short video. It's not possible. Okay, Nakamura against Wely. Nakamura playing e4. Yeah, he's more of a d4 player recently, but also e4, part of his repertoire. And Wely is one of the guys who really almost always plays a Sicilian, going for a sharp fight. And he's playing this setup that, interestingly enough, does not have a name. This type of Sicilian. It very often transposes to the Scheveningen variation. For example, if white plays a move like bishop e2, black just plays knight f6 and transposes to the Scheveningen to try to pronounce it correctly. It's not entirely correct, but I'm close. Very often it transposes, but there are some independent points, of course. Nakamura now is playing the sharpest move, and this is g4. It's very, very similar to the Keres attack, but of course there is no knight on f6 to attack. If black now plays knight f6, which is not entirely logical, but if he would do that, then g5 transposes to the careless attack of the Scheveningen. However, Van Wely played knight g to e7. This is an interesting twist. He just avoids the kick that the knight on f6 is receiving, and he tries to use this knight first on e7 and then maybe on the queen side or on the king side, just according to circumstances. This is, I think, nowadays the main move here. Knight b3. This makes some sense if white plays a slow move, let's say this one, for example. Then black, I think, will trade one pair of knights and activate his e7 knight. So this tries to keep this knight a bit passive for the moment. Okay, but black has other moves on the queen side. Yeah, this is all fairly logical. And now I think Van Wely is playing a really good setup. First rook c8, queen e2, and now he's playing h5. And this is a good move, I think. It just stops white's play on the king side. And the capture here is only leading to trouble for white. After black recaptures, black will be the one to play on the g file, and this is not an harmonious position for white. And okay, white therefore cannot take, and this means that after a4 we can put this on the board, and now g6, black will fianchetto and have a really secure king after short castles. And this is very important. After bishop f4, bishop g7, rook d1, attacking here. Black was basically forced to play knight e5 and knight takes b4. So white has won a pawn, but after knight c4, attacking here, knight d3, knight queen b6, castles and castles. I wanted to get to this position. Of course, before, this was not a sequence of forced moves, but I wanted to get to this position to talk about this position type. It's a position where black is a pawn down. He needed to give up the b pawn, but what is his compensation? And he has compensation. He's got an excellent knight on c4 that applies pressure here, combined with the bishop. He's got a safe king. This is very... Oops. What the heck? He's got a safe king. This is very important. With this setup, his king is really secure. Also, the bishop, of course, provides some shelter. He's got more targets like that. And on the other hand, it's not so apparent what white is doing in this position. The main asset that white has is this pawn. Apart from that, he does not have a very clear plan here. And long term, he has one issue, and this is the king. Right now, the king is completely okay because there are pieces around it. But in the further course of the game, this king can be a problem. In the long run, black's king will always be safer with this pawn shelter. And yeah, I think that this is fairly equal, this position. Well, not equal like drawish, not at all, but dynamically equal. Yeah, Nakamura's next move is very logical. He played this one, knight to d2. He's fighting against black's best piece. This makes lots of sense. And yeah, black has no way to avoid the trade. He played rook to d8, covering the important d6 pawn. And white took. Yeah, here he had a choice. He could play the game move, which is really spectacular, or he could have played in a more restrained fashion. The most obvious move here is b3. Sorry, I'm spoiling it. This is what he played. b3 is the normal move, and this was the solid alternative. Yeah, probably black would play rook to c3, and still the c2 pawn is the target here. An additional idea that black has in this position is knight c6 to, not there, sorry, knight c6 to d4. This is a really good square. So this was an interesting alternative for white, but I guess he was too tempted by knight e5. It's very understandable. Knight e5 is a move that you really want to play once you once you have spotted it. Yeah, it's an attack. Yeah, this rook is attacked. But what happens after the capture? Yeah, this is also hanging. The point is bishop e3, gaining this tempo on the queen. And we see that this queen is simply overloaded. It cannot protect both rooks. And this means that black only has got one reply, an only move. And this is rook c to d4, looking quite funny to get into this pin, especially considering that white has c3. And the real remarkable thing is that this winner of an exchange still leads to a position where black has quite decent compensation. It's a full exchange, but it's not so clear, to be honest. He played bishop to c6, attacking this weak pawn, and I believe that the next move is maybe questionable, and I don't understand it. This is my main problem. I don't understand Nakamura's next move. I understand that the suggestion that I'm going to make is a bit passive, but I still believe that it is better than what he played. My suggestion is to play queen c2, not this move. Play queen c2 to just cover a4. The thing is, I mean, this rook is, you can always capture it. You don't need to capture it right away. And after queen c2, for example, just one line. I'm not quite sure what black should do, but just to show the general point, if black moves wherever, yeah, you will take. And in this type of position, black has some compensation. He's got the good pawn here with e5 and knight c6. He goes to important squares. This is still weak. He has some compensation, but I don't think it's more than enough. I mean, it's interesting that Van Wely got into this type of position. Maybe it happened, yeah, by accident. Sometimes it does. You underestimate or misjudge a move like knight e5, and then you suddenly get into this position. But I really think Nakamura should play here and then take it. He played b3, going for a sequence of moves that basically sacrifices the whole queen side. And I don't really get it. I mean, maybe I'm overlooking something after queen c2. And well, the engine also overlooking. Of course, I checked it with the computer. And the computer gives black enough compensation in this position. It basically assesses all this as equal, which is quite remarkable for a position an exchange down. But it does not find anything spectacular for black. So it's not clear why Nakamura avoided that, especially considering, look at what happened in the game. He played b3, queen b3. Now it took the exchange. Yeah, black has just won 2 pawns here. He's got 2 pawns now for the exchange. And only a couple of moves later, we see that around here, black is excellently coordinated. He's got those 2 pawns supported by the strong bishop on b5, and he has many ways to improve his position. Knight c6 to d4 and so on. Also note that this is of course a very, very strong piece. To be honest, in a practical game, I think white is almost lost here. Black's play is just so much easier. He's got the strong passer and white has no real play. Couple of moves later, we see that right here. Nakamura plays rook b to c1. Here he could have played a bit tougher defense you only have waiting moves, let's say king g2, and then it continues. The problem of his move is just d2, and here there's no move. This is attacked, and where do you go? Rook b1 is not really helping. And this is falling with a deadly attack. Yeah, so you basically need to take on d2. Takes. And bishop b5. Yeah, here the big point is that after ab and bishop d2, yeah, rook takes c6.
Check.
Is not helping at all. This is just a great diagonal. Bishop d2. Now there's knight d4. This is the big point. It threatens knight e2 check, and it threatens queen takes d2. And queen takes d2 is even working after this bishop is protected. Let's say queen d3, for example. Black just takes it and
check.
uses this fork. Note that quite some time ago I mentioned that black's king is much safer. This is still valid. And now with some pieces exchanged, the white king is really feeling the lack of protection.
Check.
Played rook c8 check, king h7 and queen c7. Yeah,
check.
And black just
check. Check.
Uses his knight to attack the king, and at the end captures on e4. Yeah, now he threatens queen g4 check with a mate to come. So the queen needed to retreat.
Check.
And it's still just an excellent attack.
Check.
Yeah, king h4.
Checkmate.
Direct mate. So this was necessary.
Check. Check.
And you can torture a bit.
Check.
Well, now you need to play another move, and he just took the knight, the bishop. Sorry, just took the bishop. And after takes and taking on g5, white is completely lost. Queen g4 is just too much. He tried queen f4. Oh, this is quite funny. If black now takes,
check.
This is a draw. Okay, I didn't even look at the last couple of moves. I didn't know that this stalemate joke was in there. Okay, but he just took it on d8, the rook.
Check.
And after this check, Nakamura resigned. So the world number 3 lost a game here against Wely, a very, very complicated game. And the main mystery, at least for me, is why Nakamura played this right here, why he played b3. This is just mysterious. At least my chess understanding is not is not enough here. I don't understand why not queen c2. I mean, I really don't know. I mean, this is not the reason. You can just take here, and white is better. I don't know why he gave up on both pawns on the queen side. And after that, it was just a very one-sided affair, with black having much the easier game. It's much easier to be black in this position. All right, a really long video, almost 80 minutes. I hope you're not asleep yet. Okay, thanks for watching. Tomorrow is again a rest day for the tournament. I think, or no, I believe they again switch location for one round to Amsterdam, so there's an additional rest day. So this means that I'll be back tomorrow on on Tuesday, the 21st, with the eighth round, right? Yeah, round 8. All right, thanks for watching, and I'll be back as mentioned on Tuesday.